sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Somewhere between science and superstition.
We have such sights to show you.
Strange Eons. Welcome to Strange Eons Radio. That's Eric over there.
Hello.
That's Vanessa over there.
Good morning.
I'm Kelly. Hey, guys, we've got a nice, cool autumn day to do this on for once.
Yay.
It's almost weird.
It's very foggy out. We're sitting in front of the windows and nobody's sweating.
And no one's totally freezing yet either.
Yeah, it'll come.
This is the first time that I showed up and thought I was inappropriately dressed because I didn't wear layers, and then was pleasantly surprised that it was fine. So,
yeah, it's always a toss-up once you get in the house. What's the weather going to be like inside?
That's right.
That's what's really important.
It's 55 degrees outside, but I have no idea what it's going to be when I get in there.
You guys, I'll start this off. I saw a movie that just came out on Netflix that just charmed the hell out of me. And it was called Vampires versus the Bronx.
what?
Watched it last night myself.
Oh, good. What did you think?
Oh, it's fun. I mean, it's, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I thought it was equal parts The Lost Boys and what was the Do the Right Thing,
Attack
and
the Block,
stuff like that.
Do the Right Thing, yeah.
It was just a really neat urban updated version of a bunch of young kids who realize that their neighborhood is being overrun by vampires and they have to do something about it.
Yep. And the vampires are gentrifying the neighborhood as evil real estate people.
I was gonna say, is it just Attack the Block? But no, that's so much better. That's so much better. All of a sudden, there's just like a really swanky coffee shop.
Yeah. Well, there's a butter store, I believe, is one of the
Butter store.
It's really cute. It's not scary, although there are,
little frights.
moments where they're trying to make it scary. But overall, I just thought it was incredibly fun. On Netflix right now.
Yeah. Well, we're checking out. Got that. I don't quite say if you like Stranger Things, you'll probably like it, but it's definitely, it skews a little younger than that even. But it's just fun.
Yeah.
Well, I checked out a movie that one of you had talked about previously, The Wretched.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was I think that was one of my like the Korean film.
No.
The Witch Next Door movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Yeah. Have both of you guys seen it?
I saw it.
Yeah, pretty sure I did.
Okay. Do you guys like it? I can't remember now.
I liked a lot of it.
Yeah,
Okay.
that sounds about right.
I did not like it at all.
Go for it. I did get
There we go.
email from one of our listeners talking about how much he loved your rant on
Vivarium?
Vivarium.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. Okay. I'm glad somebody enjoyed that. I felt really bad. I was like, I'm probably the odd one out here. But no, like The Wretched, there were things I liked about it. I liked like the weird crap going on next door. I felt like all the pieces were interesting, but smashed together, I felt like I was, I don't know. I felt like it was redundant. I felt like I was watching a knockoff of something.
Well, it had very much had a Fright Night feel to it.
Yeah.
Right.
True.
Yeah. Fright Night meets Rear Window.
Which Fright Night is a knockoff of.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So even more so. I mean, I did like The Witch. I thought she was pretty freaky. And like, I love this thing that people have been doing because they did it in this and then they did it in that, not Annabelle, but one of those, whichever one it was that I watched. Sorry. Thanks, guys. So like, where's the black shadow and the white eyes piercing through? Like that was so creepy.
Yeah, and I mean, they didn't shy away from putting children in danger.
No.
Which is always, kind of creeps you out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was interesting because I was, as usual, watching it with my mom, forcing my poor mom to see this thing. Although she did actually get it in Netflix, in the Netflix kind of mail system and open it up, and she said, "Let's watch this tonight." So
Nice.
maybe she's coming around.
So that came as a physical copy.
It did,
I was going to
yeah.
ask you if that was streaming somewhere, 'cause I think it is.
It might.
would think
You know
so.
what? I think
I think
it
so.
just started somewhere because I had been trying to hunt it down for a while, and which is why I got it on the Netflix queue a little while back,
Okay.
and it just showed up. And this keeps happening to me, where like it'll just show up, and then all of a sudden it's like front page Shutter or
Yeah,
this just in.
I thought it had showed up on Shutter.
Yeah. But she near the end, when there's a number of children in danger, she was like, is the other kid gonna be okay? Where's the other kid? I'm like, oh, I don't know if the other kid's gonna make it. We'll
Hulu.
see.
It's on Hulu.
On
Okay.
Hulu.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, absolutely.
Plus,
But
plus rent from other places.
yeah, like I don't think it was definitely not. It was well done, and I felt like the acting was the acting in it was good. I just don't know. There's something about it that just didn't spark. It didn't spark joy for me.
Throw it away.
It was a super indie, and it was one of the few films when the lockdown happened that they opened up drive-ins for.
Oh,
And so it actually had a theatrical showing, which was kind of neat for them. And then it did, fairly well. So I was really happy for the
That's
filmmakers.
awesome. I actually wish I had seen it in a drive-in. I think that would have been super effective and fun.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
whatever, it's fine. I watched it in my living room. So
You were able to see it. All right. Well, I saw one that I think you've mentioned before, and I think deeply, deeply deserves so much more credit than it's getting, and that's Dave Made a Maze.
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit. I love this movie. Deeply original, with at least conceptually. I mean, the story's nothing. The story. Guy in trouble needs help. All right. Okay.
Right.
But the execution.
there on the poster.
That's right. The execution is amazing. The acting is all top notch. They set things up and deliver them, and the inventive ways they solve problems because the world is based on imagination is incredible. I can't recommend this one enough. It is amazing.
I'll definitely have to hunt this down. I don't think I've heard of it.
It's on Netflix, I think.
Yeah.
And Steve Lang had posted something about it when it first came out. And I was like, oh, I'll give this a try. And it was, I didn't bother to see what it was about. So
Yeah, me either.
when it started happening, I was thinking, am I going to like this? I don't think this is really my kind of thing. And then as things start happening, because Dave makes a maze in his house
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
out of cardboard and all of this stuff.
Okay.
And his friends and family who are trying to help him get lost in it.
Oh, that's crazy. And does he have a big house, or is it like?
Well, it
Small
certainly seems huge once you get in the
That's
maze.
right. There's a little Doctor Who there. But I can absolutely see Steve loving this one.
Yeah, well,
it's
it's-
quirky and clever and a lot of fun.
And the subject matter is right up his alley.
Mhm.
If any of you suffer from anxiety or depression, this is a movie that will probably make you go, I totally get what is going on here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ah, that sounds awesome.
So yeah, definitely check that one out. It's
Yeah.
wonderful.
I'm definitely clamoring for content now that we're Octobering. So
Well, watch this one anyways.
is it not horror or
No, not really.
Oh,
It's
okay.
fantasy.
It is, there are fantastical elements in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not, it fits into the genre, but it's
Okay.
not scary or anything.
Ah,
What led me to it was Kelly's comment, and then a lot of horror people commenting on it,
oh.
and it has a sensibility that it applies to what horror people like to see on screen, which is unique and different
Yeah.
stuff.
I also love that when you think about it, the effects were really neat and everything, but the set design was all cardboard.
Oh
So-
man,
Yeah.
so well done
Yeah.
too. Jesus.
It's amazing. But I imagine while they're building it, it's like, hey, not so nice, guys. We want to make sure this looks like cardboard.
Yeah.
We need to make sure like a man who's maybe not a professional at building mazes made this.
Don't lean against that.
Well, I also checked out, I don't know why I do this to myself, but I
Uh-oh.
checked out Walking Dead World Beyond.
Oh no.
What is I saw an ad for
Is it
this,
like
but I don't
a-
even know what it is.
Brand new Walking Dead series.
Oh, okay.
So it's an actual
spin-off.
series.
Because the original one's coming to an end, they didn't
Right.
want to finish. Okay.
Right. If you have not had enough of zombies, then this is the show for you.
Like a Dawn of the Dead kind of thing or something, where it's
It's
just
literally just The Walking Dead with new characters now.
Oh.
Same world, same time frame, same everything, and these are how these people are now dealing with it.
Oh, so it's definitely true to the comics. Because it's just keep going, and then I don't know if they even
comics
have a
ended
single.
a while ago.
Did they?
Did they actually
they
end?
wrapped it up.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe I should
Oh
watch
God.
read all of that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some twists to this. This takes place, in the same time frame as The Walking Dead, so it's not at the beginning of it. It's after we have learned how to deal with them and everything. And so there's some interesting stuff in that, these people are making a world work for them. Like I stopped watching the original Walking Dead a long time ago, but I know that they had taken over kind of a neighborhood and had a pretty normal life with zombies outside.
Right.
And that's kind of what this is too. Although there's schooling involved and all of that stuff now. So.
Weird. I stopped reading I ended the series a lot later than you do, but I haven't watched it in a few years now. And the comic introduced a new character that annoyed me so much, and to me read so much as we need to get the young kids involved in reading our comic. I'm like, I hate
I
this
think
character.
I know who you're talking about.
So I stopped reading it, and then like a month later I read, Walking Dead is coming to an end. I'm like, oh well.
Oh man. Huh. I mean,
Are you still reading it then?
I got near the end, I guess, because I got through like the first 22 or 23 volumes.
Yeah.
So it probably only went a few more beyond that. Because I just paused. I basically have never bought it because it's too expensive to read all those. So I've just been getting them through the library. So I'll just on the library the last few.
Nice.
But the plot of this Walking Dead series sounds an awful lot like a video game that came out a month or two ago.
Oh.
Probably.
Which is Last of Us 2. It's the exact setup, but whatever.
Well, if you like that, then you probably like this.
Sure. I mean, I guess it's not exactly going for originality, so.
I mean, it's kind of amazing that 10 years ago or whenever Walking Dead came on, that, a zombie show could last for 10 years.
I'm amazed I've been avoiding a show for 10 years. Oh, okay.
Anything else you watched?
Let's see. Yeah, actually. So I didn't rewatch. Jesus. I watched the American remake of Pulse. No, yeah, I talked about Pulse on the show a little bit ago, and I was like, "Oh, Kristen Bell, this looks awful."
You're like, "Oh, I hate myself right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch this for punishment."
You know what? 90s teen films trying to be thoughtful Japanese movies? Sure. Or is it Korean?
Worth a shot.
Yeah. Oh my God. It tried so hard to actually do the stuff the original did, but without any of the mood. Except, okay, I'm sorry. Scrape away eeriness and the long shots and which I know you're not a fan of, Kelly, but all that kind of stuff that's unsettling, the things that take a while to produce the feelings for, scrape that away and replace it with like 90s extreme.
No.
Yeah, there's like a lot of like very stylish, like super stylized camera stuff and like just rockin' music, and we're hanging out with our friends at the club, and like and they swap out, or they don't swap out, they combine almost all the female characters just into Kristen Bell, which makes it very confusing because she meets like the guy who plays the techie guy in the original, like very quickly. And I was like, these two stories in the original do not meet up until almost the end. So I'm like, how are they? I guess they're just going to hang out. Does she go crazy? So, but they do actually go for it. They like end the world, which I was surprised. I didn't think they were going to go that far.
I love the idea of a director coming up to her and saying, "Kristen, can you be less subtle? This isn't really what I'm going for in this movie."
It very much feels like that.
I can see that, yes. Yeah. Did I talk about The Fly too?
You didn't. You talked briefly, but you said you hadn't seen it.
Okay, I have now.
Oh, Tell me more.
Boy, missed opportunity big time in that one.
No kidding.
As far as cast and talent that was involved with it, the director had great FX experience.
Who was it? That wasn't Mick, was it?
No.
I feel like he's somehow connected to The Fly, too, though.
Could be. Probably as like a co-producer or co-writer or something. But he was a FX guy and still is, I believe. But he hasn't directed anything else. But, it's it was frustrating, actually, because the potential was there. It was never going to touch Cronenberg's. It just wasn't in the same league. But the storyline, the idea of the son, I forgot the character's name, but
Brundle.
Yeah, Brundle coming back and being kind of a fly and that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Poorly executed.
It's a classic case of the Jaws ripoffs and everything, and
Yeah.
not understanding why the original movie was so great. It wasn't because he was turning into a fly. It
Right.
was the humanity between him and Gene Davis and all of this stuff that really draws us into the story.
Mm.
And the problem is they had actors who could have pulled this off in The Fly too.
Yeah.
They just didn't have somebody who was writing a story that was like that.
And a couple perfect characters to be sidelined, like the two doctors were just one-dimensional dicks for no reason to him. Like, okay, I get it. He's going to be upset with him and come back and hurt him, but they could at least be a two-dimensional character or something. It was. I watched it.
When you have somebody like Cronenberg do something and then you've got the balls to do a sequel to it without him, then you need to pull in someone like Clive Barker or something and say, what will you do with this?
Yeah.
It's got to be somebody who's also a visionary and is thinking a little differently than the rest of us.
Definitely somebody who's going to go off the wall and try to reproduce some form of chaotic filmmaking. Instead of that's weird. I don't know why. Were there only 2 The Fly films, or did they continue to go?
3 original, and then there's 2 in the 80s. I think both of them were in the 80s. The second one I can't remember is 89 or like 90. It's right on the cusp, but and I don't know if they've done another remake or anything since, which is a little surprising. Speaking of Clive Barker, I heard some big announcement that he's like coming back with a vengeance. He's got a new novel coming out. He's got the Hulu show, and he wants to do more films.
Books of Blood coming on Hulu. He's got a new novel coming out, and there's a Nightbreed television series.
Oh,
What?
that's right. Yeah.
That's right. I did hear about the Nightbreed series.
I hope so. I posted it on the Facebook page.
That's probably why. I probably looked at our Facebook page.
I hope the Books of Blood come across a little bit better than the Twilight Zone or the Creep Show.
Well,
shows.
I'll tell you, the trailer looks interesting, but it doesn't look like anything out of the Books of Blood.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm going, I know it's been a while since I read it, but I do not recognize.
No.
Maybe are they doing original stories? Just calling it that?
I don't know.
It looks like they've got a wraparound story or a setup story with the Books of Blood.
Right.
As was presented in the books, but that's it.
Well, I'm interested.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Clive a lot, and all of this stuff that's coming out is from the time frame that I really thought he was at his peak. So, let's see.
I'd love to see a good Yattering and Jack, and a good just because it would be hard to do now, but I think it was called Maryland.
Is that the one with the working
the
theater?
I think
movie theater.
It's got the working aphrodisiac, but I mean works way too well. Like guys enjoy holes in walls.
Oh dear.
And stuff. It's really brutal.
You may not realize that the Yattering and Jack was adapted for a Tales from the Dark Side episode.
Okay, that
wasn't great.
Wasn't a good
Tales
show?
from the Dark Side was kind of a cheapo show anyway. But I mean, I thought it was fun.
Cool.
Very cool. Good stuff to check out.
Yeah, before we take a break, one last thing. Did anybody watch the South Park pandemic special?
Damn it, not yet.
I did not. My brother started texting me, I think it was while I was watching The Wretched, and like was going on about how it was the best thing he'd seen in like years and how he's just having such a good time. And I was like, I was not in the mood to be told someone else was having an enjoyable moment.
Wow. Well, I would say he enjoyed it a lot more than I did. I did think it was very, very funny. I think the South Park is, as usual, hitting the nail on the head with everything. But I don't say it was the best thing I ever saw. That seems a little extreme.
Probably not the best thing they've done, even, I would imagine. There's a lot. That's a lot of history.
How do you where do you find it at this point?
Well, you had to watch it on Comedy Central because for some reason it's no longer on Hulu, which is where I was watching.
I think they're on HBO Max now. I think South Park is on HBO Max.
Okay. Yeah. I was going to say, because I don't have really cable. I just definitely don't have the Comedy Central channel. So I was like, does Comedy Central still exist? What's out there anymore?
Well, you must have HBO Max because you've been
do.
watching Raised by Wolves.
Yeah.
So if that's where it's at, I would assume it's there right now.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
I will add it to a list to watch when I'm not grumpy.
Yeah, well, this will make you not grumpy. It
Yeah.
is very, very funny.
Okay. I might need that. I've been grumpy lately.
What? No kidding. I hadn't noticed. Should we take a little break?
Sure.
Sounds good.
All right, we're coming back with fantastic villains.
Endangered species!
To pollute the environment, Cobra unleashes the septic tank and evil eco-warriors. But the Joes have eco-warriors too.
I'll take it, Duke!
The septic tank and eco-warriors have powerful water guns. And when hit, they change color to reveal battle damage.
My suit's corroding! Clean them up!
Joe and Cobra color change eco-warriors and septic tanks sold separately.
I've only begun to mess around!
And we're back. Hey guys, this was my genre pick this time, and it was fantastic villains. And the whole idea was to pick a movie that had a great villain in it, and it couldn't be a franchise. So if you were going to pick a franchise, you couldn't pick like Freddy out of it. It had to be some other villain. So with that in mind, well, I picked this because I knew for a fact I was going to be talking about Charles Dance in The Last Action Hero, the Schwarzenegger movie.
Yeah.
He has the fake eye that has all the weird things that do it. He just tears up the scenery in that film. And I was just like, I'm totally going with this because I want to talk about how cool he is in this movie. With that in mind, I picked a movie called Danger Diabolic.
Meet Diabolic, a bank Robin Hood who battles the cops. He robs from the rich to give to the girls. Ask Eva.
Oh, you shouldn't have done it.
She can't get a good night's sleep unless she's covered with money. Master sports car racer. Master skin diver. Master lover. Master. Ask Eva. Diabolic. The absolute gold-plated end. Ask Eva.
How did you...
Bava.
I mean, you had a movie in mind. You knew it. How did this come up? This doesn't even sound like something that should have like fallen randomly upon your lap.
Well, because somebody had posted something about this film that I'd never seen after I had made my choice, and I watched it, and I immediately said, I have to talk about this amazing little flick.
Yes.
Amazing.
It is from 1968. It had a budget of about $120,000. It could be as much as $400,000. That's all of the research I was doing was pointing to many different numbers. So, and it had a box office of $160,000 in Italy and no worldwide gross listed. So hard to say what was going on. The Rotten Tomatoes ratings for the critics are 64%, and the audience has it at 71%. This feels about right to me. It's a weirdo movie, so I could see why a lot of people would be a little turned off by it.
But it is by, a cult director, as I'm sure you're going to get to next.
Right. Have you seen this, Eric?
I have not, but I've seen a lot of his films.
Right. So this is directed by Mario Bava, who has 39 credits, mostly Italian cinema, and he did Planet of the Vampires, which is my favorite film by him. Well, my second favorite now. And he also did one that I watched also recently called The Whip and the Body, which is a creepy revenge ghost thriller with Christopher Lee as the ghost.
Wow.
Nice.
And he comes back and haunts his family and tortures them with a whip. It's got a lot of very sexual stuff going on in it. And it's really interesting. There's a lot of weird sex stuff going on in the Italian cinema of the late 60s.
Yeah. And the 70s.
This was written by Mario Bava, Dina Mori, Brian Degas, and Tudor Gates, but it is all based on the Italian comic book created by Angela and Luciana Gusani. I have looked at a couple of pages from it, but I couldn't find any kind of American translation. But they made the villain, well, I can't get into that part yet. It stars John Philip Law, who is ridiculously handsome.
John Law?
Yeah. He was in Barbarella. He was Sinbad in The Golden Voyage of Sinbad.
Oh, okay.
He was in Space Mutiny and 82 other films in his career. And Marissa Mell, who's gorgeous, 70 credits, all Italian cinema, and most of it was stuff I'd never even heard of. This looked like the most genre-type film she had been in.
Oh, okay.
And then Adolfo Celli, who you might recognize from the movie Thunderball, but he was in 102 other Italian films.
Jeez.
So this starts off, it's 1968, and man, this movie looks like 1968. It is so cool. It is very groovy. And it starts with the police who are going through this insane amount of secrecy and diversions to transport $100 million from a bank. And they're all doing this because there is a master villain known as Diabolic, who they think is going to steal the money. And he does.
What? Shocking.
When we see him, he is in a full black latex bodysuit with a black mask that only reveals his eyes.
Oh.
And it's very S&M looking. And
Death Race 2000.
So sexy.
Right. And he's in a very cool Jaguar. He steals the money. And then there's this huge chase of a helicopter shooting at him. And he's going off of the main roads, finally slips into a tunnel, and then switches cars with his beautiful girlfriend and accomplice, Eva. And they send his Jaguar out of the tunnel and crashing on the rocks below, where everyone's like, well, that's the end of Diabolic, I guess. And he and his girlfriend speed out the other end of the tunnel in her Jaguar.
Oh.
They head back to his very, very cool hidden lair.
Nice.
And it's got an elevator that, the car drives in, and then this elevator takes the car down and opens up. It's underwater and all this stuff. And I realized, holy shit, I'm watching a movie about a villain. I was like, what is going on here? Because the police are just frustrated as hell with this guy. And he is a villain. He's killed people. He's done all of these things, and it's all in the pursuit of money. But he's so fucking suave that you're just rooting for him the entire time. So they head back to this secret lair, and then they make love on this spinning bed that is covered in all of their money.
Of course.
Yes.
It's round, right?
60s.
Yes.
All right, nice.
There better be some like poppin' colors going on too.
Oh yeah, well it's all white and pastels and arches and
poster
stuff
is
like that.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's so cool, and it's like a villain's lair mixed with the Bat Cave, because there's all these computer screens and computer things going on, and lights blinking, and levers, and all this stuff. You're just like, what's going on? This guy is so cool. He's basically an evil James Bond.
Oh my God.
So the police hold this press conference where they talk about how they're going to reinstate the death penalty to stop criminals like Diabolik. But Diabolik and Eva have actually infiltrated the press conference, and they release what is called exhilarating gas
Oh shit!
onto the audience. And it's just like an episode of the 60s Batman. They've got this device that says exhilarating gas on it, and then a lever that says on and off. They turn it on, and it starts gassing everybody in there, and they all start laughing, and they're very angry, but they
God.
can't stop laughing. And of course, they just did this to fuck with the police. They take off again. So the police are so frustrated, they make a special deal with a gangster named Valmont, who is that Adolf Silly guy. And he agrees to help them find and kill Diabolik. He is like, he's so over the top. He's like, who's the bad guy in Austin Powers?
Dr. Evil?
He's like Dr. Evil. When we first meet him, he's on his private jet, and he's berating this person that he doesn't like, an accomplice of his or something. And when the guy talks back to him, he presses a button, a trapdoor opens in his private jet, and the guy flies out.
Oh my God.
Awesome.
Oh.
So the rest of the movie is about these two villains now going after each other. Diabolik is super suave and handsome and very easy to root for. And Valmont is kind of a blunt object that gets things done, and he's got the power and the money to make this stuff happen. And he turns out to be the real villain of the piece because he's not attractive.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
And he's a jerk. So you're like, okay, I don't like this villain. I actually like the other villain much better than this villain. There's all this crazy stuff going on. There's this amazing train robbery where they lure, it's a trap to lure Diabolik to steal all this gold. But what he doesn't realize until he gets on the train is they have melted like whatever it was, a ton of gold into one gigantic bar, making it impossible for him to steal. But he does. He totally does. And then there's this huge, the police are able to track him down to his lair, and there's a huge blowout there where the gold is then melted, and I don't want to give away the ending, but it looks like, Diabolik has been killed at the end. Or has he? This movie is so much fun. It's everything that I love in movies. You know how much I love the 70s and stuff. This is what people think of when they're thinking of the real 70s.
Yeah.
It's just fucking gorgeous looking and ridiculous. So I should mention that this has going for it an Ennio Morricone score.
Oh,
Pretty
okay.
cool. And the producer was Dino De Laurentiis.
Really?
So it turns out that De Laurentiis and Bava had different ideas going into this film. De Laurentiis wanted to make a family-friendly film with a charming thief, and Bava wanted to make a film that was more faithful to the comic books. So they were having a lot of friction on set. This was filmed at the exact same time as Barbarella, which is why John Law is also in Barbarella. All these cast members are in both films at the same time.
Oh my God.
And De Laurentiis also produced Barbarella. So he had, all this stuff going on.
Before you get too far away from the comic you just made, have you read the comic or tried to find the comic yet?
I tried to find the comic, and I saw some pages so I could see that he actually looked very much like he does in the comic, but I couldn't find a translated version of it.
Oh, okay.
So some interesting stuff on this that I thought was really cool. Bava was given a $3 million budget, which was way more than he's ever been used to.
Yeah.
Instead, he remained true to his principles, relying on imagination rather than money, and brought in the film at $400,000.
Oh my gosh.
De Laurentiis was so impressed that he offered Bava the opportunity to make a sequel with the leftover funds, And Bava said, no, thanks. I don't want to work with you anymore.
Oh, that's when you know that it is not a good relationship.
Yes.
Oh my God.
This was the very final episode of the original Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I got to find that and see what they were riffing on.
Yeah.
In the early 2000s, a new feature film based on the Diabolic comics was to be directed by Christopher Gans and starring Mark Dacascos. Do you remember him? He was in the latest John Wick as the guy that John is fighting against for most of that end scene. And Monica Bellucci. They were both supposed to be in that. Did not go anywhere. In 2002, a French production of Diabolic was set to be made with a contemporary setting. Script was completed in 2007. That's 5 years just to complete the script.
Jesus.
With filming set to begin in 2008, but never happened.
Would it then be Diabolique?
Oh, I guess it might be if it's French, yes. In 2018, REI Cinema president Paolo De Broco announced that a new adaptation of Diabolic was in development. That was 2 years ago already, and nothing since then. Edgar Wright cites Danger Diabolic as an influence on Scott Pilgrim versus the World, describing it as an Italian influence, a sense of completely unbridled imagination. They don't make any attempt to make it look realistic. This movie was so much fun, you guys. I implore you all to go out and find it. It is a rental only on Prime, but it's a $2.99 rental, and I think that you can buy it, which I will turn around and just do that as well. It's so much fun. I will watch this movie over and over.
Does it have a nice Scream Factory kind of release or Shout Factory?
I don't know. I did see something that had multiple box art, so maybe they've done something like that, and they've included all of the cool posters. Because you sent me a poster that was nothing like the poster that's up on Prime, which is also equally as cool. So it's a
It's very
fun,
cool.
funky movie. It did not do well. And so I think it's been kind of forgotten.
Yeah.
But there were some notes that I found that people are starting to find this movie and really enjoy it. So
Excellent.
Amazing.
Sounds like a one of the many influences for the Austin Powers film.
yes, very much. As I was watching this, I was thinking, wow, he completely ripped off Dr. Evil from this guy. This guy is so ridiculously evil.
Oh my gosh, so good.
So my fantastic villain is actually the hero of this movie.
I don't know, like that's just such a fun twist, and I think that they really found a home with that in what is that, like, children's film with the little yellow guys and
Minions?
Minions,
Yeah.
yeah. I feel like that's a really cool idea that not very many people have spent time in.
Oh, right. Making the villain the hero.
Main star, or
In that, at least, we get a glimpse into the villain and see that he's a good guy. In this, he's just got, the only thing he's got going for him is he is very suave and handsome. He's still very evil.
Despicable Me guy is definitely not suave.
Oh, well, this was a really fun challenge, actually. I had a huge list of potential villains to go after, some more obvious than others, and I really couldn't decide. And then a friend of mine reminded me of a film that I saw last year called Tourist Trap.
Every year, hundreds of young people travel the country and disappear. God help those who get caught in the tourist trap. Tourist Trap, where beautiful young people looking for excitement are tricked, terrorized, Tourist Trap. Shock you can see. Terror you can feel. show-stopping suspense that makes this the nightmare that never ends. Something crazy's going on at the tourist trap.
Now, I am sure both of you have seen this movie.
I've seen
have,
the
yes.
original. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't believe there's any remakes.
I think there is a
there is
remake.
Is there
remake, yeah.
really?
Not a successful one,
Okay. I know that.
which is, disappointing.
Yeah, I know that Wax, was it House of Wax or whatever remake movie is based on it. So maybe that's it.
I could see that, yeah.
I didn't realize that. That makes more sense than it being a very bad remake of the original House of Wax.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's true.
Exactly. So this film I first came across when Shudder was launching the initial Joe Bob Briggs special, where it was like a 24-hour thing. It was the very first movie that came on. Of course, that show went on to be so successful that Shudder now has it as a series.
Right.
But it was super fun and it was super weird, and I'd never heard of or seen this movie. It is weird.
Yes,
I want to
yes.
say that up front. Yeah. So be warned if anyone does choose to check this out. It's a different kind of movie. The version that I ended up with is a Blu-ray edition by Full Moon Pictures, but there's some kind of dispute between the directors, so there's 5 minutes missing. But don't worry, that those 5 minutes are not any of the like gore or like difficult scenes. I guess it's just plot development. So,
I'm going to say that Charles Band has no problem removing those elements from a film.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you do want to watch the full 90-minute version, check it out. It's still on Shudder. So the budget for this film it was made in 1979. It was $800,000. The box office is ? I could not find it. Rotten Tomatoes has it at 40% critics and 48% audience. And I get why. For sure. Yeah. Like I personally disagree with it, but I understand. This is directed by David Schmoller, and this is his first feature film. He went on to do Puppet Master, Crawl Space, and Little Monsters. The writer is also David Schmoller, along with J. Larry Carroll, who's written 42 things, including Hills Have Eyes, Roar, which is weird.
Somebody wrote Roar?
Apparently. Texas Chainsaw. Oh, no, I'm sorry. He was the editor for these. I apologize. He was the editor, weirdly, for Texas Chainsaw Massacre and 17 episodes of Star Trek Next Generation. So, nice. So he's kind of a really interesting character. He also did... Continuing, 4 episodes of G.I. Joe, 4 episodes of TMNT, some Ghostbusters, Dennis the Menace. This movie, just to put it in perspective, it came out the same year as Alien, Apocalypse Now, Amityville, Warriors. It's weird. It does not feel like it does not stand up to these behemoths. I want to make that clear. However, still pretty interesting. It stars Chuck Connors, which most people would remember from The Rifleman, but he also was in Flipper and Old Yeller. He has 138 credits, so he definitely got around. There's then a cast of kind of not teens, but young adults who are on this harrowing journey, who are pretty much nobodies, except for Tanya Roberts, who is a Charlie's Angel star. She also was Midge in that 70s show. She was a Bond girl. She was in Beastmaster. Mm-hmm. And she was also in 8 episodes of the Blues Brother animated series.
Which I was not aware of.
No.
Right. Very odd. I didn't even know it existed, I guess. So very exciting stuff. Everybody else really had almost no credits, like 15 acting credits or less. There's somebody who went on to do literally nothing else. So like 16s who just don't worry about them. The plot is a group of young, cool people are on their way somewhere to have a good time. Never really said. One of them's in a bathing suit, so I want to say they're on their way to the beach, but I can't be sure. They're going in 2 separate cars, and the first car has some trouble. So we start off with a character, a young guy, rolling this tire down a dirt road, looking for a gas station or somewhere where he can get some assistance with the car. He finds a gas station, but it's empty and there's no one there. He then pokes around a little bit, trying to see if he can find assistance, and finds a room with a bunch of mannequins. Mannequins come alive, kind of. Start looking at him, start kind of moving around. Door gets locked, window gets locked. He can't get out. And then stuff starts just flying out of a cabinet at him. And then a metal pipe comes in and impales him. And there's some good silence and then just a dripping sound, pan down, metal pipe, blood just coming out of it. So nice early death. In the meantime, his girlfriend or whatever person was in the car with him, she's just hanging out by the car, having a nice little read, hanging out in her bathing suit, just chilling out. And then the second car pulls up, the Jeep with the rest of the crew. They're like, "Where's the guy?" She's like, "I don't know, getting something with the tire."
Is she 80 years old or something?
No.
He's off laying pipe. Hey! Quickly, move on.
Yes. Anyway, so they go to try and find him, since they've got at least one working vehicle, and they discover that there is a roadside attraction, this kind of tourist trap, as it were.
Hey.
So they drive down. They find kind of like an old swimming hole. They start hanging out, and then this older man, not old, but Chuck Connors appears, and he seems like really creepy. Like they're swimming, and all the girls are naked, but by the way, there's no nudity, so not naked. You just see their shoulders up, and so it feels really creepy. But he is just so sweet. He's just so nice and kind of funny. And he's like, you guys, it used to cost people 75 cents a swim, and back before they put in the freeway, and now nobody comes to my swimming hole. They're like, "Oh, okay." And he's like, "You should get out of there before dark." And they're like, "Uh-oh, why?" Like he's gonna punish them. He's like, "That's when the water moccasins come out." Ha 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 ha. So,
I think I'll get out now. Thanks.
He's playing this line between really eerie but really friendly at the same time, and it's just so well done. So of course he offers them help. They follow him back to his kind of this historical reenactment tourist attraction, which has just a bunch of different figures. Some of them are animated, so there's like a little shootout between 2 of the mannequins / waxworks. And he brings them back there and he says, "Yeah, I'll help you out with the car. Like, we'll get this stuff figured out. Don't know where your friend is." So the teens settle in, but when Chuck Connors leaves to check in on the vehicle and help the guy begin to fix it, one of the girls sneaks out and goes to check out this mysterious house on the property just across the way. Chuck Connors has warned them not to leave the room because there's coyotes. So, Sure. She leaves anyway, goes across the way, and of course discovers a strange villain in this locale named Davy. We are led to believe that this may be the hidden away crazy brother of Chuck Connors, who Chuck had said, "Oh yeah, my brother had made all these mannequins and then went off to Hollywood. I lost him to the big leagues, and now he's making waxworks for like Madame Tussauds or whatever." So very, very strange backstory. But this guy comes out and he's wearing like a wig and like half of like a doll's mask on his face. It is incredibly creepy. Yeah. Terrifying looking villain. And when his special ability, he's not just like overly strong killer Terminator style guy that you get in a lot of these slasher flicks. He's actually telekinetic, so he can make all these mannequins like come alive, which is even creepier because while the mannequins don't seem to do a lot other than fall on people occasionally, their jaw comes really far down, and they like will laugh a lot. It is so creepy.
Nice.
Ugh, it's I guess maybe that also might be because I'm terrified of dolls, but
Sure.
the movie progresses, and of course, the rest of the teens end up coming across this guy one way or another. Lots of great deaths, but there's this constant question of who is this person? So, spoiler alert, and I'm only going to spoil this because we're talking about great villains.
Sure.
The brother is actually also Chuck Connors. So yeah, it's the same guy. He's got kind of this split personality. Basically, his wife and his brother had been cheating behind his back, and he took it within his own law-given right, I guess, to murder them both. So I guess that's like an old Spanish idea that they took and were using, but a badder Texas just has a very different way of looking at the world that I was not aware of. So don't cheat on people in the South, I guess. And something fractured within him. He really missed his wife, so he made a mannequin of her, and then he just kept going. So with every person who comes off of this roadside, like gets into this tourist trap, he murders them or lures them there with his telekinetic powers. He breaks down cars, whatever, and then turns them into waxworks and just makes his museum larger and larger. And there's just a lot of mannequins. Near the end, there's this character named Holly who he sort of falls in love with. She reminds him a lot of his wife. He's just driving her crazy. He's drowned her. She's sweating. She seems to have a fever. She thinks one of the mannequins is like giving her like medicine and like taking care of her. She's just very out of her mind. And she starts to see the mannequins as people. It is wonderful. It is just wonderful. And the ending, I won't give away. I think you should check it out. It's just freaking weird, but great. Chuck Connors I think this is an incredibly brave role, and I think he pulls it off so well. I think somebody who played the Rifleman for 170 odd episodes to like then put on a woman's wig and like act in like a doll mask and do things like run around saying, "You're so pretty." And just, I mean, he goes for it. There is no holding back.
Nice.
He nails it. And it almost makes it better that the rest of the cast cannot act, save for our beautiful Bond girl. They are bad. I mean, really, really bad. But it almost makes him so much better because you feel worse for them. You're like, you really wandered into the wrong film. He is going to dominate all of you. And he absolutely does. This film is just a wonderful, weird, hidden gem. Stephen King actually really loves this film. He even though it kind of rips off Carrie, but that's okay. He's mentioned it in a couple of books that he's written talking about this being just a really neat, scary film. Part of the reason why Chuck Connors took this on was he said he wanted to be the Boris Karloff of the 80s. I'll let you guys decide if that ever came to happen. Absolutely. It's mostly filmed in Griffith Park, which...
Wow.
Yeah.
No kidding.
It's weird too, because it really does feel like the South, but they use that space really effectively. It's based off of the director / writer Schmuller's senior film project from film school. It lost a sixth of its budget to the musician for this piece, Pino D'Inigio. And actually, so just to talk a little bit about my favorite and least favorite things of this film. One of my least favorite things is actually the soundtrack. I think it's horrible. It's absolutely awful.
You're saying it wasn't money well spent for you.
I don't think so. And I've read a lot of people who said that they think the soundtrack really enhanced it. Joe Bob also did in his like Shudder review of it. But I think it's god awful. For those of you who don't know, Pino D'Inigio wrote the music for a lot of big films, including Carrie, The Howling. Oh. He was actually there shooting for Piranha. So he was actually already in the country, and the only reason he did this project is because the director could speak Spanish and lured him away and was like, hey, come hang out. We're cooler. And Pino was like, sure, you speak my language and they don't. So goodbye. Goodbye, Joe Dante. I'm sure he went back and finished it, but yeah, the acting is obviously very bad, except, and it is very frustrating watching the women try to escape. They're useless. Watching women run away from killers and fall constantly, or just stand in one spot screaming for no reason after they've kind of gotten away, is the most infuriating thing. However, there is one character named Jerry, and his escapes are fantastic. You cannot hold Jerry down. He will chew his way through rope. He will saw his way through chains. And this actor actually jumped out of a glass window. He did his own stunt. It is just amazing. So he's running away from the telekinetic madman Davy and just chucks himself through this window and just keeps going. I was like, you are a hero, Jerry. You get out of there. You deserve to escape. So Jerry was definitely a delight as far as the teens. The things that do work for this film, like I said, the villain is just fantastic. Davy, like when Chuck Connors is playing Davy, and he has a few really good scenes, like where he's talking to himself. So he's telekinetically mimicking a mannequin that has the evil person's mask, the little doll mask on it. So it's like he's talking to the villain, but he's the older brother and the other one's the younger brother. And he's like trying to feed it soup. It's wonderful. The soup obviously does not go in its mouth. Spoiler alert. And he'll spend a lot of time having like family time with the other mannequins and like bouncing little dolls on his knee, and it's just so weird, but so good. And it doesn't have to be in there for any particular reason, but it is great. And the waxworks are also pretty fun. Also, I feel like there's an additional character in this film, the Dr. Pepper machine. I don't know why, but it is featured in almost every shot inside of
You don't know why? Maybe?
No, because they pull it open and there's no Dr. Pepper. He hands them beer. So I don't know why it's so heavily prominent. It is so weird.
That's even better.
I feel like they just were like, well, we only dressed this half of the room, so let's just only point the camera this way ever. So the Dr. Pepper machine is heavily featured in this film. A couple of other final fun bits of trivia about this. Like I said, House of Wax remake was mostly based on this. So if you want to know why it sucks, but maybe the direction it was trying to go, check this film out. Like I said, there's no nudity in it. And the reason why there's no nudity in it, because it was in the script that the chicks get naked. The director was too embarrassed during casting to ask the women if they would be willing to unclothe. So they got to the scene where they're supposed to be naked, jumping into this watering hole, essentially, in swimming hole. And they all said no.
Sure.
Yeah, he was like, by the way, sorry to bring this up, but could you maybe? And they're like, no, we're good. So if anyone wants to do nudity in their film, please ask people ahead. That might be helpful. It was shot in it was shot in 24 days. The credits actually misspell the villain Slosson's name, which is great. They're using plaster a lot to make these faces over the victims. It's actually pizza dough, which I totally figured out while they were doing it. I was like, that's really sticky. That is not plaster. That's like,
this could have worked as a pizza episode.
I know. If only I'd known. Oh. And last but not least, the director, the mannequin that comes along and helps Molly, who she believes is helping her and gives her medicine and stuff, is played by the director's wife. There were 2 lines she was supposed to speak, but in editing, the director cut them out, and his wife never forgave them. They're no longer together.
Ouch.
So,
reason for divorce. Well,
irreconcilable differences.
Yeah, just
You
call
don't
it
even
that.
get it. You don't even get it. So Eric, I am definitely excited to hear your pick. I was very excited by this.
I do like, though, that after me harassing you a little bit about not liking a weird movie last week, that you pick a perfectly brilliant weird movie this week. That's awesome.
Do you think that the Joe Bob version is still up on Shudder?
It is.
I'm gonna have to watch this again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I watched it parts of it last night just to try and get his take on a couple of things and see if there was any additional behind the scenes info to glean from it. It's still there. A lot of that initial 24-hour film extravaganza is gone, but that one's still going. So
Nice.
get on it.
Before it gets
And also
pulled.
Shout Factory, freaking Scream Factory, pick this up. Somebody other than
Really?
Full Moon. No, I'm saying they should.
Wow, yeah,
they
there's
need
not-
to.
That's why I'm surprised there's not one.
Yeah, there's nobody has made a really decent version of this. The Full Moon version really sucks. It's not a great copy of it, frankly. They gave no care into it.
Yeah.
They have a director's commentary.
Sounds
and
on
that's
point there.
it. Super
Yeah,
bad.
boy, that doesn't sound like the Full Moon I'm used to.
Fair.
Alrighty, well, we have another great episode of 3 hugely different styles of film, which is, I think, is great. I went with Max Schreck from Shadow of the Vampire.
Roll camera. Iris in. Begin.
It's been a fitful night, but you wake refreshed. What is that beside you? It's a book about vampires.
Nosferatu. Director F.W. Murnau had an obsession to create the world's most realistic vampire movie.
Meet Count Olaf. The overture to our Symphony of Horrors.
He dug up an actor
I'd like some makeup.
Well, you don't get him,
who didn't just play the part.
but you're not feeding.
No, you're not drinking her blood.
He lived it.
What is the matter with you?
Where did you find him, really?
From Lionsgate Films and producer Nicolas Cage comes the haunting tale of the uncompromising.
You will have no close-ups now.
The unimaginable. And the undead. Academy Award nominees John Malkovich
I will finish my picture.
and Willem Dafoe.
This is hardly your picture any longer.
Shadow of the Vampire.
How dare you destroy my photographer?
Why not the script girl?
Eat her later.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so those of you that are real horror nerds will know Max Schreck is the name of the actor that played Nosferatu in the original 1920s era Nosferatu silent film, which I fucking love. I love that film. But this one was made in 2000. It's got a Rotten Tomatoes ratings of 82 from the critics and 74 from the audience, which I think is oddly low for the audience, but the critics, that's right there. Budget of $8 million. That's an estimated budget. They didn't have a full one. Opening weekend, 150,000. But in the end, it did make $8.2 million in the box office.
So as long as we don't count whatever the promotional
That's
costs
right.
were, we'll say this was a success.
Which they should have spent more on, maybe. This is directed by Elias Merhige. Oh, it's about that. Who has an interesting history in films. He's done Suspect Zero, some Marilyn Manson videos, and the really bizarre, disturbing Begotten.
I don't know that one.
Which is why he was hired for this film, was that movie. It's a weird one. Written by Stephen Katz, who wrote From the Earth to the Moon and a Manhunt episode, the HBO show.
Okay.
Stars some people you might have heard of. John Malkovich from The Ogre and Johnny English. Willem Dafoe from The Hunger and Finding Nemo. And Udo Kier from Axe Cop and Mother of Tears. And Carrie Eloise, who has forgotten was in this one.
I did too.
Catherine McCormick and Eddie Izzard is wonderful in this film. probably, I did not say a single name there that if you look this person up, you will not recognize them, because I'm pretty sure you recognize all of them. The idea of this film is that the filming of the 1922 Nosferatu, I was right, is hampered because the director, knowing this, as you find out as the film goes along, he's hired Max Schreck, who is a vampire, to run in the film. Have you both seen this one? I know you.
Yeah.
I saw it, but before I studied films, so I have like a loose memory of it.
Sure.
I think we saw this together in the theater.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Wow.
Opens up with a scene being shot, and it's a lot of fun to watch, having been on sets, because you're watching a director of a silent film. So he's just constantly talking, feeding things to the actors. They're performing and stuff, going, man, that would be convenient. There's a discussion. If you know, I would highly recommend, if you haven't seen Nosferatu and you want to watch this, watch the Nosferatu, because it references so heavily. Like, there's a conversation between the producer and the director and somebody else about Dracula. It's like, you can't call it Dracula, because Nosferatu got turned down to use Dracula officially when they made the film Nosferatu, so they had to change the name and change the look, although they told the exact same story, which is why they got sued. And there's the deal, they can only shoot Orlok at night and never apply any makeup to him. It's like, all right. The director, as John Malkovich plays him, is an artist, put that in capital letters, and is making the film for the world to remember him. And his over-the-top, passionate performances are wonderful. And you'll understand why when I tell you that this is the first film Nicolas Cage produced.
Oh my God.
That's right.
Great line. They're shooting a scene, and one of the people that lives in the village wanders in, and Malkovich is like, a native has wandered into my scene. They do an excellent filmmaking job of going from showing what's on screen or what's in front of the camera and then going behind the scenes from back and forth. And they use original footage from the original film in a few of the establishing shots. And like when he looks at the locket, that's the original 22 version. And so they really are tied into the original quite well. Problems arise because Max Schreck starts eating the crew. The director is very upset with him because he eats the DP. It's like, well, couldn't you have just eaten the script, girl? Jesus. But because he eats the DP, Cary Elwes comes in as the new DP, and he is awesome. He is not in this movie enough. He is so good, and he plays this ridiculous, over-the-top action hero DP guy, and he's not in a lot of scenes, but the scenes he's in, he just chews it up. It's really, really neat. Disappointed he wasn't in it more, because it's a lot of fun to watch. And they go through and they have problems. There's a scene with Defoe and Malkovich going back and forth about shooting the movie, and they want to use as a boat, but the guy refuses to get on a boat. And it's a great scene. The acting in this movie is just obviously fantastic. Because the reason Nicolas Cage picked the people he did to be in it, because he specifically picked people he felt could be pushed to really, really go almost too far in their performances. And Malkovich just does that. There's a scene they're talking about in one of the making ofs I watched where he's near the end, and Malkovich just keeps getting bigger and bigger because the director told him, I want you to make this giant. And Udo is standing next to him, and you see him react in reality. I mean, he's acting it still, but he looks over at the guy like, what the fuck are you doing? It just goes so big, but it works so well. Because by that time, he's established as just being kind of a nutso artist who's going to do whatever he can to get the movie he wants. Let's see, what else is great? It's the great line all filmmakers should all remember: if it's not in the frame, it doesn't exist.
Very important to know.
That's right. A lot of people didn't like the way this movie ended. And this is where it veers largely from the concept in Nosferatu, although they recreate the end scenes. I could see how you could structure the ending of Nosferatu from what they shot, but it's really brutal. And like, oh, okay, different take you're going here. And Malkovich kind of goes too far with going over the top to make sure he can get what he wants. I think it's a great ending.
I don't really remember the ending.
I don't either.
I'll have to watch this.
Yeah.
But it's, I think it leads up. I don't see where it could go anyplace else as far as the way it ends, because it's just a great move. Another fun thing that Defoe does is his characterization is wonderfully unique when he's with people versus when he's alone. He's very different in the way he acts. It's just fun. There's just so much done so well. And like I said, this is Nicolas Cage's first production. Largely wanted to do it just so he could get those two actors to be in a film together, because he liked working with both of them so much. It's like, you guys got to work together.
That's cool.
And he was right. Cage didn't like the word vampire being in the title because he was afraid it would just color the concept too much. I'll get to the director had a complaint too, and I've got the title he wanted to use. I'll get back to that when I find that note instead of looking through it now. But yeah, Cage did this because of The Begotten, which is a really disturbing, dark film that I'm not sure why. I think he's right. I think the guy did a great job directing this, but good vision on Nicolas Cage to see him for this role, because it's really different. And part of what Cage liked was William Dafoe's ability to go over the top. Really? Okay. And he himself at the time was working on being bigger, and he wanted to get that, I think he called it kabuki style acting accepted in the US, and okay.
I'm not sure I'd say that he was successful as making it acceptable to anyone other than him.
Yes. And those few of us that enjoy his insanity. There are weird rumors around this film. There are a lot of people think this is actually the real story of how Nosferatu was made.
What?
And
this film started that rumor, right? This film is like being fanciful.
No, there was weird things. Max Schreck's a weird person. The real guy, Max Schreck, is kind of shrouded in mystery sort of character.
Oh, okay.
And he had very strange quirks, and there were strange problems on set. So that's not an unfounded. That's where the movie. It's the other way around. The movie was built on the rumors of that.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it existed before. Defoe's answer to that was, well, if you believe in vampires, I can't help you.
That is a perfect response.
Like, okay, yeah, that
Thank
works.
you, Defoe.
Oh, Burned to Light was what the title that... Burned, exactly. That was the problem. Burn. Like burned. Like you burn yourself on a thing. Apparently, Defoe hated it and called the director up and said, what is this about burning Ed to light? And so it's like burnt Ed, or is it burnt to light? What is this? Or burnt? You said bird. So eventually, after it was finished, they realized that Shadows of Vampire actually has a really good title and works perfectly for the film. The big difference between whether it was real or not is the film portrays several major characters and crew members that are being killed by the vampires, and all of them lived past the production and some of them continued to work.
That does become a bit of a plot hole, unless you want to take it one step further and say, well, they're all vampires now.
Oh, well, there you go. They did continue to work for a long time. They had one weird production problem where a farmer misunderstood instructions for the scene, and instead of clearing the set of manure, he put manure all over the walkway where the carriage was going to drive through.
No.
So they came in and spent the first day trying to figure out why it smelled so bad.
Oh my God. That's a big misstep.
There's I think 6 different languages being spoken on this set, and apparently nobody spoke that farmer's language, I guess. All the characters are named after characters from Nosferatu. The director's the same name as the director, and so on. So that's another nice twist for it, making it really interesting looking.
Do we know if F.W. Murnau was that eccentric in real life, or
he was apparently? I don't know if he was that eccentric, but he was definitely a unique character. Willem Dafoe was nominated for Best Supporting Actor for an Oscar for the film. One of the reviews, O. Scott, of the New York Times wrote, you can find a version in an improbable blend of behind-the-scenes satire and art house fright fest, anchored by Willem's creepy, comical, and oddly moving performance as the blood-sucking Shrek, which I think is pretty accurate. He has an odd innocence the way he plays the character at times when things aren't exactly the way he wants, where it's almost like a little kid, making him just a little bit sympathetic, even though he's, killing people and sucking their blood. But, so the rumor did come came about in the 1950s, when a Greek film writer and director, Ado Cairo, speculated that thanks to the heavy makeup used in the film, it could have been anyone in that role. And falsely claimed Shrek was something of an obscure creature. I mean, he's a weird guy, but he said he was never heard from before or after Nosferatu, which isn't true. Although I like this, in the internet age, a quick Google is enough to debunk this. His name, the actor's name, Max Schreck, in German means terror or fright.
Nice.
So, a part of the reason I wanted to talk about this movie is I ended up having to get it from Scarecrow. It is streaming nowhere. I don't remember if I checked YouTube, but maybe it's you can watch it right there on YouTube. But there's no good versions of it currently available. It's not available. You can't buy the disc anymore. I think it's like $70 if you want to get the DVD. There's no Shout Factory or Severin Film coming out with a good version. I was like, what is going on? I could not find if there's a copyright problem or something somewhere, or if it's just sort of slipped through the cracks. But this is a far better film that deserves a lot more than just to be kind of forgotten about.
That's weird. I know that since I've lived here, so within the last 6 years or something, it was on Netflix because that's where I watched it.
Nice.
But apparently is no longer there.
Yeah, not anymore. Shadow the Vampire, well worth checking out.
Yeah, I would love to rewatch this actually. So hopefully I can find a version of it floating around somewhere.
And get it ordered from Scarecrow.
I sadly don't even have a membership to Scarecrow.
Well, they've set it up now so you can join online. They'll actually ship, I think, anywhere in the U.S.
Oh, wow. Okay.
For those of you someplace else. I don't know what that would cost as far as shipping goes. Yeah, no, Nosferatu is also one of my favorites. I saw that at the Paramount Theater here in Seattle with a live orchestra.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I saw it at the Little Theater on right off the Ave in the U District with a live theater. And then you, Rick, and I went and saw it at Benaroya Hall. Was that only last year or just the year before?
It was fairly recently, I think. Yeah, it probably was just last year because it seems like it was forever ago.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's
very
so cool. I think I saw it while I was studying film, and I'm pretty sure I saw it on a 12-inch CRTV so, off of a VHS tape. So there you go. Probably could come back around at some point and check it out again.
Yeah. Well, what a fun episode, you guys. This one turned out to be a lot of fun to do. Research and listen to your guys' picks.
That's right.
And speaking of picks, then, Eric, I believe you have the next genre pick.
Got kind of a weird one that could lead to God knows what. Not necessarily war-based. Doesn't have to just be a film that takes place during a war. It could be a war concept where the person has come back from war and is going through stuff, or something weird is happening in the war, or even prominently just features a vet in a prominent role. So have at it.
War
Very
stories.
Cool.
Well, cool. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the episode. Many thanks to everybody who's liking and sharing all the posts and continuing to send us messages and let us know what you like or don't like. Apparently, everybody likes Vanessa freaking out on film.
Good to know. True. Good to know. Complaining is okay.
So anyway, that's it for this episode. We will be back in 1 week, and we are talking war stories.
Yeah.
Our show is recorded somewhere high above Naval Station Everett at the nexus of all realities and is engineered and produced by Eric Margaret. Our theme music is Strange Aeons Part 1 by the band Nightshade and is used with permission. Find Strange Aeons Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and wherever fine podcasts